So when we last left off, I had all of the ribs dry fitted onto the keel of the boat. So that's all these little vertical pieces along that horizontal piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove them and glue them on there one by one. And the instructions say to make sure that they are squared. So I've got a little brass ruler that I'm going to use to square them up. So here we go. Before I get into what Herodotus has to say about the Battle of Salamis, I'd like to say a few things about the man, the myth, the legend, my boy Herodotus. You see, if you do a Google search or listen to your edgy college friends, you might see reports of Herodotus lying or over-exaggerating things. He's often been called the father of history, but my favorite piece of slander is the father of lies. Let's put a pin in the Herodotus talk for just a second, and let me tell you what's going on with the model right now. The plans called for a soft piece of wood, balsa probably, to be glued on either side of that curved tail section of the boat up against the last rib. So what you're going to see me do is painstakingly trace out the dimensions of that curved tail piece and then transfer that to a piece of wood. But the catch is, I didn't really need to do that, and at some point I realized that and just cut the piece of wood and carve it down, so long as it has a flat edge and can be glued up against that rib, and a flat face to be glued on the tail, it's good. But I felt like I should leave this part in the video so you could see my process as I go through and figure things out. This is about the part where I figure it out. But first, I make the mistake of marking it out like that. I don't know why I did that. I didn't really need to do that, except that it does help me carve down the piece of wood later. And I'm not really sure why I'm cutting out the paper template either. I don't know. I'm figuring this out as I go along. I'm kind of flailing in the dark here. You know, this is a lot of trial and error, and you're kind of coming along with me on this whole journey of me figuring out how to build this thing. This right here is about the time that I say, screw it, and just start carving, because balsa wood's cheap, and if I don't get it right, well, I'll just go get another block and try again. So you'll see me bust out my open L here in a second to do some big chunk carving off, but basically I'm just getting this piece of wood into the general shape of the tailpiece so I can glue it on. there's probably going to be more of this in the future where I'm trying to figure something out and it's not really working out and I'm trying different ways of tackling it. It's all kind of part of the learning process. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, people calling Herodotus the father of lies. Yeah, about that. If it's not readily apparent, I think Herodotus gets a bad rap for no reason. Well, I guess it's not really no reason, but rather a dumb one. You see, Herodotus' book is called, loosely translated, The Histories. But Herodotus didn't set out to make a history book. Matter of fact, history, or historians, at least the way we think of them, wasn't really a thing back then. And what I mean by that is you don't have people really recording history from a truth-based viewpoint. The word that gets loosely translated into history is actually something along the lines of inquiry. Herodotus didn't set out to record history. He set out to do what we now call an ethnography. Herodotus was interested in recording the beliefs and practices of other cultures. It just so happens that other cultures' histories are part of their belief structure. Herodotus even goes so far as to doubt the validity of some of the things he's being told by other cultures and openly expresses those doubts. Yet academics looking to make a name for themselves choose edgy monikers like the father of lies. It's like the academic version of clickbait. Herodotus is not the first historian, but instead one of the first cultural anthropologists. Herodotus should not be taken as fact, but rather the views of other contemporaneous cultures of his time. So with all that being said, let's get into what Herodotus has to say about the Battle of Salamis in 480 BC. Next episode. That's right, I pulled the rug out from under you. Who's the edgy academic now?